just got done from seeing The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug.
Smaug, the great and terrible.
Smaug, the tyrannical, other names that were used throughout the film.
Dragon.
So,
Yeah, we need the Dovahkiin.
So, I guess we're just gonna talk about it, our thoughts. Gonna try to not go all spoilerish on it.
If you want spoilers, read the book.
Even
Yeah,
if it
also-
won't be exactly the same.
If you haven't watched the first one, make sure you watch the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise you'll be a little bit lost for a while. Yeah. Who wants to start?
I go first.
What were your just overall impressions of The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug?
This movie, I think, did a lot better of where the first movie kind of faulted at. Whereas the first movie, there was a lot of pacing problems. There was just seemed to be very little action, and then, just lots of... And I know it kind of had to be there, but lots of story, lots of just, I don't know, small things, and it could have been a bit bigger. And then, again, like I said, the action sequences, the only one that I felt was really, like, oh my god, this was cool, is the one in the Goblin Lair. Is the only one that I felt was, like a really cool, like, almost, the epic action sequence that was in that movie. The first one against the trolls wasn't that good, but then in this one, they, within, the first, I want to say, half an hour, 45 minutes of the movie, they probably throw you into easily the best fight sequence in the movie, so... And there's all kinds of cool shit that goes on. Orlando Bloom's in it. I know all the ladies are... Their panties are getting damp because of that. And... What else can I say? Again, it looks beautiful, but at the same time it looks weird because, it's shot 48 frames per second, so that's faster than the human eye can see. So that's, just mind-boggling how crystal clear and bright everything is. Alright, I think that's all I'm going to say. We have 4 people going, so I'll let somebody else continue onwards.
You just want to go down the line? Next. I can go next? Alright. Yeah, like he said, the 48 frames per second really, some of the shots just looked weird. It looked fake. I mean, even like the outdoor shots that they actually shot outdoors in New Zealand without a set, a lot of it looked fake. And Keith actually said on our way back that some of the stuff looked like it was glowing, if I do recall. It was a really good movie, but it deferred later on in it, after probably the first hour or so from the book. Pretty much after the scene with the spiders in Mirkwood. It really kind of took a different path than the book did with certain things, like the barrels out of bond sequence, which in the book was rather boring. Nothing really happens except Bilbo stealing things from the elves for a while, and then the dwarves kind of getting the barrels and the elves throwing them into the river. But again, if you want the book, read the book. But the whole sequence down the river was really cool. It was shot very well, very good action sequence. Again, Legolas featured a whole lot more in this than he actually appeared in the book.
He did.
Yeah, because he didn't appear in the book. His father appeared in the book, but he did not. Kind of the whole sequence, pretty much anything involving the elves, really didn't happen in the book. Lake Town was really cool. The first time you saw a little bit of it, kind of made me think of when I played Dishonored for the first time and you first see Dunwall.
Yeah.
Keith can refer, it's kind of in the fog, and it reminded me of Dunwall from Dishonored. There were a lot of throwback shots to other movies, which I'm sure somebody will talk about more in depth, possibly, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, overall, fantastic movie.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Even when people usually see a brand new movie, even of a trilogy, they're like, all right, this one's automatically my favorite, just because they've seen it recently and it's the most exciting. I still have to say I like the first one a little bit more, although this one did seem to contain quite a bit more, I don't know, action, you could say. Stuff that, you know, is like heart-pounding stuff, and I did like the first one, but I mean, yeah, you should watch the first one set up for this one, unless you read the book, but still, even then, I'm sure most people have seen it by now. But, yeah, like Luke said, there were a couple, things that sort of related to Lord of the Rings in a way, like, there was one part where I know someone threw out Gimli's name,
Yes.
Gimli's father, one of
Gloin.
the dwarves. What?
Gloin.
Yeah. Groin.
Groin.
Yeah, there were a couple small things that, I mean, I probably didn't pick up on too much because I've never been too into the Lord of the Rings, but I mean, I've enjoyed the movies and I enjoyed The Hobbit thus far. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but again, like at the end of the first Hobbit, the first part of The Hobbit, the second part will just make you pull your hair out where it ends because something is going down. I can't tell you what. I can't say anything about it. Just something's happening.
Shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, and they leave at the most cliffhanger part, and I mean I hate them for that, but I mean I would do that too. I mean I feel like that's a good place, like just to leave off there where people are still excited and everything. But yeah, overall the movie itself, I thought, like these guys said, a couple of things looked a bit fake. You could say, like, when there's some parts in the movie where there's melted gold and stuff. I just thought it looked. I mean, even if it was in a video game, I would still say, okay, yeah, it's definitely fake. But this is in like a movie, a blockbuster, huge movie, and some of the things just didn't look too up to par, but overall, I would say it still had that general Lord of the Rings feel to it. The same soundtrack sort of thing going on, and sometimes it played some Shire music and, you know, some stuff like that. But I would say it has the same general, the feeling you get from it. The, I don't know, aura of the Lord of the Rings sort of movies. You get that feeling from it.
I'm gonna start by saying this movie didn't really end. It stopped.
Yeah.
It really did. Like, you almost didn't see the ending coming. Like, you knew they were getting towards the end, but you thought that they were going to go forward with it. It just stops. It's just like,
That's what
we're
a
going.
cliffhanger is.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it stops more than it actually ends.
To put it in perspective, and Sam pointed this out, but I heard it too on the ride home, that right as it was getting up to where it actually ended, somebody said, wait, what they say was, what the fuck?
Fucking kidding?
Like,
Are you fucking kidding?
At the end of the movie, when the screen cut black, I heard someone in the front row say, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Bilbo says, "What have we done?" And then all we hear is, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
But I mean, I liked the first one, but I feel that this one just was so much more interesting. It was just fantastic. I felt. There was like these guys have said, there was a lot more action, a lot more moments that felt a little bit more intense, a lot of just very cool moments. I thought most of the things in here were really well done, and just the part with the barrels is probably the best part, and you know, that's not to spoil too much, but that part was just so well done. A lot of the fighting scenes were, you know, choreographed pretty well. Yeah, and you know, there was the, you know, what was it? Legolas sliding down on the shield, shot a couple orcs in the face. It's just like 2 towers.
Making an homage to that. And then
Yeah.
Toward the climax of the movie, they show there's a reference to the Fellowship of the Ring when, you know, they're kind of running along
the bridge of Casa Doom.
Yeah, they kind of make reference to that. It's almost
the same
shot for shot, exactly the same, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I feel that when you get to Legolas though, like, he looks very strange. I had to turn to Keith. I was like, "Is that really Orlando Bloom?" Because it doesn't look like Orlando Bloom at all. It's the eyes.
Yeah.
They changed his eye color, and he looks really fucking weird. But I felt at the same time he was a little bit more badass in this movie.
Oh, he's totally more badass in this movie.
Because, yes, he is technically younger in this, so, he moved a lot more. Like, some of his, when he would kill some orcs, I was just like, yes! Like, that's fucking sweet!
Legolas never really had a lot of solo time in any of the Lord of the Rings movies. It was always, lots of... There was him doing cool things, but then, there was also... Gimli and Aragorn doing cool things. Now it's just him. It's his time to shine.
In the Lord of the Rings, there was a lot of Legolas Gimli bromance going on.
But
from the 2000s on.
In getting to the... What are you going to say something?
You can go. I have a different point to make.
In getting to, the 48 frames per second, some things do look kind of strange. I feel that it's mostly when they, really pan the camera back. That it just looks very fake. It looks very, almost computerized and just strange. And I'm not really for that, but sometimes the 48 frames per second give it this extra fantasy feel that's just really cool, but then other times, I noticed right in the beginning, they have Thorin in a little bar type place. And you just look at one of the characters in this, and you just feel like they're glowing. That you feel like there's this, aurora around them that just outlines them and makes them just look not very real in ways. Kind of I don't know, they were just put there and it was computerized and just strange. At times it's cool, at times it's not. I thought... in the whole barrel sequence when they would cut to more of a first-person view going down in the water, I felt like they just took a fucking camcorder out and went down a fucking river.
Well, yeah,
that just kind of looked bad.
I liked it. I thought
I wasn't for that.
It gives the realism to it.
But as a whole, I thought this movie was really good. Lots of tense moments, and just... It's what I wanted, and I enjoyed it.
I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but how I felt about it, earlier on in the movie, well, I'll say this about the characters that were Lord of the Rings characters, the big characters in Lord of the Rings. First of all, Legolas, I felt like they didn't really need to have him in the movie. They just had him because people knew him from Lord of the Rings, and like these guys were kind of saying it was his time to shine, to kind of give him the spotlight, but I felt like it wasn't, they didn't need him too much, but it was cool to see him in there, I guess. He did some cool stuff. And his father was, as much of a douchebag as ever. And, I kind of like that he was in there. He still has that same attitude to him. He still has the same feel to him. But, okay, earlier on in the movie, I don't think this is too much of a spoiler. The guys and Gandalf go their separate ways. And I don't know if it's just me, but I did not give a single crap what Gandalf was up to. I felt like he didn't...
They didn't put a lot of emphasis on it.
Yeah, I felt like what he did is going to come back in the third movie to be important somehow. He's going to, And what he went through, sort of... I can't say too much about it because I feel like it would be a spoiler, but... it's a bit of alluding to what happens in The Lord of the Rings. Somewhat of the stuff he goes through. But I felt like I just didn't care much about it. Like Tyler said, there wasn't too much of an emphasis. I just felt like, alright, get back to, I don't know, Frodo or, Bilbo, whatever.
You're about 60 years before Frodo.
Yeah, get back to Bilbo or Thorin or something, or the main storyline, because Gandalf, I felt like I said, it's going to come back later in the third part, but for this movie, I was just kind of like, he's not doing anything interesting, and some of the things are just kind of like, I felt like he didn't have as big of a part.
I don't know. As a counterpoint to that, having read The Hobbit first, I was always wondering what the hell Gandalf was up to whenever he left, the company of dwarves. Because in the book, he just says, I'm going to investigate things in the east, which the east eventually becomes Mordor, and, the Tower of Dol Guldur becomes, the Black Tower.
Yeah. Right.
Sure. But, I kind of thought it was interesting to see what exactly Gandalf had been up to in his time away from the company. So, fuck you, Sam.
It was cool, but I mean, I was just so wrapped up in what the dwarves are going through.
The two main points that I wanted to add, which was the Hobbit isn't my favorite of all the Lord of the Rings book. It's honestly my maybe up there. I mean, Two Towers is also. I really don't like the book Two Towers for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just weird. But
Because the ending drags on and on and on.
but this I feel like they did a lot to make the Hobbit better in this, which is the fact, something the Hobbit didn't have. I'm not going to spoil how this happens, but there's a little bit of like a romance going on, which is kind of cool. And then also they made it more of a prequel. The Hobbit was written first, and then Lord of the Rings was written using characters and assets kind of that were introduced in the Hobbit and just expanding on it. There really wasn't that. There literally was just how they kind of created it. There wasn't that connectivity. At least with the movie, with some of the creative interpretation that Peter Jackson has allowed, he has created, in a way, using Gandalf, connecting the
they're tying the Hobbit into the Lord of the Rings
a lot better than the actual Hobbit does.
Yes.
And so that's what I really like. This is actually probably, I think, one of the best prequel movies. Actually, no, I'm going to say this series is probably the best set of prequel movies I've ever seen. And also, I'm just going to say this will most likely, by my estimation, probably be the best of the three movies that come out.
Usually.
Because, not to spoil too much, how I know The Hobbit ends, there's not going to be much story left. It's just lots of
there's really not
stuff of big action going on. So there's not that much story left to it. So I honestly think this is going to be the best one for a good balance of the two.
Now, I feel that even in the first one, but I really thought in this one as well, everybody really plays their roles really well, though. I mean, I feel the acting's done really well.
Yeah.
And the dialogue is fantastic. And
They do a kind of a cool job, which is, for the most part, in the book, there's like 3 or 4 dwarves who kind of have the spotlight, and then the rest of them are just kind of
there.
part of the group.
Like Biffer, Boffer, and Bomber really aren't huge parts in the book.
And they still kind of aren't, but then they put little things in there, like, Keeley kind of has a semi-bigger role than he ever really did in the book.
Yeah.
And just, like, things like that, I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this has probably been... then again, I haven't seen very many movies this year that have fight scenes in them, but probably some of the best fight scenes I've seen in a while. They were just beautiful. They were cool to watch. They did some really cool things in them.
some of the things just kind of put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
It's
It's like, that was
so
badass.
You know?
I was like, yes, why not?
Yeah.
This one also, the first one kind of had that kind of funny moments.
Yeah.
A lot more funny moments in the first one.
This was
They weren't
almost-
really here because this one's a lot more serious, a lot more to the point. But at the same time, like I said, I enjoyed the first one. It didn't have as much action, but can't really have the first one without can't have the second one without the first one. So, they're both great.
Sam's been raising his hand for a while.
I don't know, it's just kind of a general thing, and it's my own opinion. I haven't read The Hobbit, but I feel like it would be more interesting to go through and, to be on the edge of your seat knowing that someone's life is actually at risk. Because I feel like a couple times I'm like, oh, is Legolas going to die? I'm like, wait, no, he doesn't, because he's in Lord of the Rings. And then, I don't know, Bilbo, oh, wait, he's in trouble now, but he's not going to die. I feel like, it's cool that you kind of know some of this stuff, but at the same time, I think it would be a little more interesting if someone ever died, because they always seem to get in these crappy situations, and everyone makes it out alive. I know it's a movie, but I feel like that would just make it a little bit more interesting.
Wait till part 3.
Now, but that's the thing.
I haven't read the book.
They've changed enough. I don't know if they're gonna go all Walking Dead on them and just completely,
change
this person's
Zombies?
gonna live, and this person's gonna live. We're gonna kill off major characters for no apparent reason. Or this person, you know what? I like them. They're gonna stay around.
like you said, there's really not a whole lot left to do. There's one big battle.
There's expanded universe, but which they're adding into it. But there's a little.
I guess the
I don't know
journey
how much.
home, which really hasn't been covered
Nope.
ever. So
At it's like an epilogue to when they release like a special edition of the Return of the King. They put extra stuff of what happens in between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and that.
yeah.
Since there's added stuff in this movie, it kind of makes you think, I mean, who might make some type of appearance in the next movie? Like, what else could they add that, you know, was like Legolas coming in this movie where he wasn't in the book? Like, what could they put in for the next part? Like, any major characters or something like that? Some type of characters. Saruman?
Saruman was not in this movie.
Saruman was in the first movie.
Is he supposed to be in the third, since you guys read it?
No, he actually didn't even appear in the
Yeah,
books.
that was one of those things they added to.
There were very
I
few
mean,
changes
he
from
could
the
be
books.
added again. I mean, you never know.
It's I don't. They're not gonna get the guy who played Gimli because he was allergic to the prosthetics and he.
Oh yeah.
He had a hell of a time playing Gimli in the first place. They're not going to put Aragorn in because
Aragorn's in the north still.
and also he's like 30 or 40 when the Lord of the Rings actually takes place. This is before his time, so
Yeah.
so he's not going to be around.
Again, Legolas being an elf is immortal, which kind of that's why he's around. Gimli is still young.
I just don't know who they'd throw in. Like maybe a couple nods here and there, but I don't know who they'd throw in.
Who are the other wizards? Like Gandalf, and there was that.
Radagast.
There's cool nature dude.
Radagast
And
is the
then
brown.
Brother-
Saruman and there's the two blues, but I don't think they.
The Blues brothers never get a name.
They've
Blues brothers.
maybe
Maybe they could. Who knows?
maybe. I mean,
Hollywood.
Radagast technically didn't have a name until the first Hobbit. They kind of,
No, Radagast is named in the book.
but he didn't have like a huge part. It was
No.
just kind of a minor thing.
But trivia note, I know I told Keith this, but the actor that plays Radagast the Brown was the 7th Doctor Who.
Oh, mind blown.
Yeah, I know. It blew my mind when I saw that.
All right, so
Yeah, his thoughts.
Ratings of the movie. Well, just a quick rating of the first one if you wanted to, since we never reviewed that.
Yeah.
I
On
would
this
give
one.
the first one probably an 8 out of 10.
I
Same
agree with
thing.
like 8.
I agree with that. 8 out of 10 for the first one.
I would say 9 out of 10.
Same.
What about this one?
I would give this one probably a solid 8.75 out of 10. I really do think that a lot of things are really well done. It is a great movie to watch. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, to me, I had it hold my attention for all
3 hours.
almost 3 hours that it was going. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings,
You're gonna
like it.
Yeah.
So 8.75 out of 10 for me.
For me, even though it did take a whole lot and divert from the book a lot, which the first one had its diversions from the book, but it didn't change the story a whole lot, I'm still going to give this a 9 out of 10. It was cool, it was gorgeous, the story was driven really well, it was paced really well. So yeah, solid 9.
I'll give it an 8.9. Just a little bit not as good as the first one. As much as I'd like to give it a 9, I feel that's probably most of because I just saw it. But, I mean, overall, I would say it's eventually going to be a 9, so what the heck. I'll give it a 9. It's definitely interesting to watch throughout the whole movie.
Then Sam completely changes his rating.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because, I just saw it. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the best movie. That's what people feel when they see a good movie. Like, oh, this is the best movie because I just saw it. But eventually that's going to wear off and you're going to get down to the nitty-gritty and you're going to give it the real rating. I feel like it's going to be a genuine 9 because they're both about equal for me. They're both very good movies. A lot of cool stuff. What's his face? Smaug the dragon. He is pretty cool. Good animation on him.
I didn't
Look,
expect him to talk either.
Pretty
That was just
I-
a thing.
He does
I mean,
talk.
I yes, because I knew he talked in the book, but I did like it. He's probably the best looking dragon I've ever seen
Yeah.
in a movie or a video game. I think.
I don't know. Dragon Tales is pretty cool.
Yeah, I get. I'll get
Hey, don't forget Alduin.
But,
Spyro.
Spyro.
Spyro. My rating, I would, since Todd, I give it an 8.75. And on the whole thing, they're changing things. If you want the story of the Hobbit that's in the book, you can read the book.
And kind of what Bond, a friend of ours, Bond. I mean, it would be a little bit boring.
Yeah, because in
If they start
a
to-
book, an action sequence is what, a page long, if that.
No,
Like
well,
the whole
that's
Battle
right.
of Helm's Deep in the Two Towers book is like a page and a half long. The entire battle, it's not that long. It doesn't even take place in Helm's Deep. Whereas in the movie, they draw it out to like 45 minutes of like an epic battle.
Helm's Deep was a pretty good chunk of that book.
I've watched it.
So sad. Yeah, like the actual fighting was not that. It's not that long.
That's true.
But so I mean, yeah, I give it 8.75. It's better than I think it's better than the first one, and I mean it's easily one of the better movies I've seen this year.
Yes.
I think that's it then. What else?
I think that's it. Definitely go watch this movie. It's a good movie.
Go watch the first one and then go watch this one. And then go watch the first one again because that one's already out.
Yeah, you probably want to. And then go watch the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy again. Extended editions, all in one.
Make a day of it. Don't leave your couch.